Hey guys, we're here again today at HardRacing. Today we're doing the all-new OTB Gen 2 chain adjusters. You might be asking, well, what's Gen 2? It's a new design, better design, stronger, beefier. It's got a new clamping system instead of the old style. And overall it's just better. The bolts are larger. It's going to be more stable when you get the optional spools, but overall you still have the awesome one bolt rear adjust that locks everything in place. It's metric because that's what your bike uses, and the two pinch bolts here together clamp down on your swing arm so these don't fall out. Super easy install, and we'll show you exactly the differences between these and the last one as far as the install video. We're going to make a new one showing you how to put this in, because we do get some questions and comments about not quite sure about how to put it in correctly. There are a few key notes here. I mean, honestly, these are pretty simply just slide them in and tighten the bolts down. But the biggest thing that you got to note is you can install these on either side. That right here is where your optional spools will go. If you order them with spools, you get a set of spools and longer bolts that go through the spools and will replace that bolt. If you don't get spools, then you would not replace that bolt. So basically you've got one side here and one side here, and this is the way that they slide into the bike, like this, and that lower one here would be on the left and the lower one here on the right. So the key to watch this is there is this little, if I can get that on the camera, there's a little recess right here, and that pinches the swing arm. You'll see it's machined out. When you look straight down on top, it's machined out. So basically you slide this in the swing arm, and then the edge of the swing arm, where my fingers basically are, would go right behind that pinch recess, and that keeps these from falling out when you take your axle out. So the key here is you're going to loosen this bolt here and this bolt here. You're going to slide it in till it gets right in behind that first recess, not all the way back, that first recess. Again, do not slide these all the way in where that thing's all bowed out. It's not supposed to be like that. There's a machined lip here. That's all that you're supposed to have pinching the swing arm. You slide it all the way in, you won't get full adjustment, and this will be all crooked, and that's not good. So again, make sure you only slide it in to that very first recess right there. These bolts here, you're going to basically loosen those up so that this thing is loose when you slide it in. You're also going to want to put blue Loctite on both bolts and then put them back in and tighten these down to 8 foot-pounds. Again, we're going to go over this all in the install part of it, but I'm just explaining this now for the guys that are in a hurry and they just want to throw them in and not have to watch anything. So next we'll go ahead and show you how quick and easy it is to put these on the bike. Alright, so next step you're going to do is loosen the rear axle. Obviously do this while the bike is solid and stable on the ground. Loosen the axle. You don't have to pull it out, but just loosen it up. Take that nut off. And that way when you go and jack the bike off the ground, everything's loose and it's easier to pull up. What you want to do is get these things prepped. The whole goal here is as soon as you pull that axle out, you want to slide these things in, tighten them down, and get the axle back in there quickly, because your bike is sort of precarious if you're using, like we are, a jack stand. So obviously the less time it spends hanging out on the jack stand, the better. So the whole concept here is to basically have your bike on the kickstand just like it is now, put a jack stand or a floor jack, whatever you want to call it, underneath the center of the bike, preferably right underneath the back of the engine. If your exhaust is there, put a block of wood or something to protect it, but you want it to be basically as far back as you can, like we have here, and to the right side of the bike. So again, you're not trying to lift the bike off the ground. All you're trying to do is take the weight off the back tire. So basically, so the back tire can slightly turn on the ground. You don't need it 2, 3, 4 inches off the ground. If anything, it makes it harder when you're putting the wheel back in to align everything when the tire is off the ground. So again, have it just barely to where that back tire can lightly rotate, dragging on the floor. Then, once you get everything ready to go, you're going to pull the axle out, pull the old stock sliders out, slap in the new ones, and put the axle back in there. Alright, so to prep these, basically need blue Loctite, either a stick or liquid bottle, and your socket with your Allen on the end of it. And these are already pretty loose from the factory, so it doesn't take much. So all you're going to do is back these out and put a little blue Loctite on them. And put them back in there. And you want it loose again so that they're flopping around. And this is the part where if you got spools, then you're going to take this all the way out and replace it with the spool bolt. If you did not get spools, all you're going to do is put blue Loctite on it, stick it back in. And again, you want it loose so that it can slide over the edge of the swing arm when you slide it in there. So we got spools with ours, so we're going to take this one out, get rid of it, and use the spool bolt. Alright, so now we've got these ready to go. Again, you want them loose so that the pinch clamp can go around the swing arm, then you pinch it down. So make sure you don't have these things really tight. You want a little bit of a gap there so it's got some play. Make sure they're both ready to go. Again, blue Loctite on both those bolts, inside and the outside one. Now you're ready to pull your axle out. Again, make sure the tire can just barely rotate. Make sure it's secure. And do not jerk and yank all over the bike to where it falls off the stand, because then the bike's going to fall and that's not good. Again, this is a little precarious only if you don't take caution and not banging and janging your bike around. All you're trying to do is pull out the axle, slide the sliders out, slide them back in, and slap that in there. If you do it right, you can actually do it without the wheel even moving, if you do it right. Alright, so I got the bike just barely jacked up to where I can rotate this, which means the tension's off of the rear wheel. Now, pull the axle out carefully, not trying to bang the bike around. Of course, your caliper is going to fall out. And look, the wheel doesn't move, tire doesn't move, and now you just pull these out. And quickly slide these in. Again, right here, you can shove them all the way in and it'll make it bow out. That is incorrect. Alright, so we're going to get a nice close-in shot here. Again, see how it pinches just on the end where the machine part out. You don't slide it all the way back here. Just that little lip that's machined out of the pinch block. So again, make sure you properly install that. Very important. Do not want it to bottom out on the back of it. You want it to slide in just enough so that first machine groove is grabbing the swing arm, and that's it. So again, do not slide them in all the way. If you do, you're going to lose your adjustability and you're going to torque that pinch bolt incorrectly, and that's not good. Put that side on there, put the other one in. And you want to have these at 8 foot-pounds. Again, that's 8 foot-pounds is the proper torque for these two bolts. 8 foot-pounds. If you don't have 8 foot-pounds, that's not a lot. Again, the only thing that these two are doing is just keeping these from falling out. So don't go crazy and gorilla crank them and strip out the aluminum. This is just aluminum inside here. The bolts will not break, but you'll strip that aluminum. So if you strip that aluminum, I mean, you're talking 3/8 of an inch thick. If you strip that out, that means you probably went to like 20 foot-pounds, some crazy amount. So don't go more than 8 foot-pounds. The blue Loctite will do its job and keep those things from sliding out. Alright, so once you got those torqued down, now you put the axle back in. So hopefully they haven't moved too much. And obviously you need to adjust these so they align up where your hole used to be. And you're going to go ahead and put your nut back on it once you get squared. We have our little driven endurance cups, which make it easier. They protect the axle, but they also make it easier to pull the axle in and out on both sides. You can have one, they come made for obviously the left side, so that when you yank, you can pull the whole axle through. You don't have to like pound it on this side. We got 2 sets, so they have matching, neat little product there. Alright, so now what you're going to do is adjust your chain tension so you get the proper tension according to your little sticker on the side. Make sure your tire's square. It's got little notches on it to check that. But the biggest thing is spin it, make sure it's square, make sure it's all true, and then go ahead and tighten down your axle nut to 40, it's about 42 foot-pounds. The biggest thing though that I can't emphasize enough, every chain adjuster, whether it's these or any other brand, they're not made to adjust the wheel when it's got 40 foot-pounds of torque on it. So do not sit there and crank down your axle to 40 and then sit there and try to adjust it. There's way too much friction on the wheel and the axle against the swing arm for it to move either direction. So always loosen your axle first, adjust it, then tighten it back down. I've had people before strip out a bolt or whatever and say, oh, it didn't, that's because they never loosened these axle nuts. So you must loosen the axle nut before you adjust your chain. Then once you get it squared, then you tighten that back down. And after you tighten that down, make sure you check your tension one more time. Sometimes it'll tighten or loosen a little bit when you tighten this down. All right, so basically, now the concept is that you can put your bike, again, this is if you get the spools, and honestly, for the little bit extra money, we always recommend getting the spools. I personally think 50% of the value of getting these is getting spools with them, because to be able to put your bike up on a proper stand that goes underneath the spools and keeps it from moving is priceless. Everybody's used the old school stands that go a little pad under there. That's great until you start bumping and wiggling it and it slides off, and all of a sudden one side slides off and the other doesn't, and the bike falls over. If you haven't experienced that yet, consider yourself lucky. We've been using race stands for 20 plus years, and we've seen our plenty share of people having those traditional pad styles where it slides off after you bump the bike or whatever, and the bike falls over. So a spooled kind is nearly, unless you just literally line backer into the side of it, is nearly impossible to pop off. And that's the beauty of these chain adjusters, is that when you pull your axle out, they stay put. They don't fall out, they don't move, and you can have your bike up on a spool. So what does that mean? Basically, you want to clean your tires, you want to change your brake pads, you want to change your tires, you want to pull off your wheels, change your, adjust your chain, lube your chain. You can do all that with a spooled stand. And again, if you have this type, you can actually pull the tire out if you had to do something, change the tire or whatever, and it will still stay up on this rear stand with the spools underneath it. So keeps it super secure, super safe, and just less chance of those pads sliding off the bottoms and out of the way. So again, the new design, a lot better, a lot beefier, more solid, more secure, a little shorter spools, but overall it's just a great improvement over the original design. So if you enjoyed our video, please give a thumbs up, click the subscribe button and the little bell for a reminder so when we post new videos. And please be sure to leave a comment, or if you have any questions, send us an email, give us a phone call. We're on Facebook, Instagram, and check us out. Our website is HardRacing.com.